If you've been keeping an eye on what's been happening at camp, you're going to want to stick around for this one. There are some really interesting developments that could have a huge impact on this team moving forward. The competition is heating up, new faces are getting opportunities, and a few players are starting to separate themselves in ways that fans definitely didn't expect. There's a lot to break down, and some of these updates could completely change the conversation heading into the preseason. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that like button if you bleed brown and orange, and drop Dawg Pound in the comments if you're riding with the Browns all season long. The Cleveland Browns have made another roster move during training camp, and while it may not grab the biggest headlines at first glance, it could say a lot about what this coaching staff is looking for as the competition heats up. The team has officially signed defensive tackle Travis Bell, while waiving undrafted rookie running back T.J. Harden to open a roster spot. Bell arrives as a 310-pound defensive lineman who previously appeared in 2 NFL games with the Atlanta Falcons after originally entering the league as a 7th-round draft pick out of Kennesaw State. He did not play during the 2025 season, but Cleveland clearly believes he can provide another physical presence up front as the defense prepares for an important stretch of training camp. Considering that the Browns' run defense became more vulnerable after injuries late last season, adding another interior body makes sense, especially with the coaching staff evaluating every position before preseason games begin. At the same time, reports from camp continue to praise Mason Graham, who has reportedly looked very impressive during practices, giving Browns fans another reason to be encouraged about the defensive front. But as important as that roster move is, almost every conversation around Browns training camp continues to come back to one position: quarterback. After 4 practices, the performances have generated plenty of debate, but the numbers being discussed tell a very interesting story. Shedeur Sanders has continued to stack productive sessions together, while Deshaun Watson has struggled with consistency, particularly when it comes to turnovers. According to the reported practice tracking, Sanders recorded 4 touchdown passes against just 1 interception through the early sessions, while Watson finished with 3 touchdowns but also threw 3 interceptions during the same period. Looking at the combined totals after 4 practices, Sanders completed 64 of his 91 passes, while Watson completed 58 of 90 and accumulated 6 interceptions. Those numbers have become one of the biggest talking points surrounding the Browns as camp continues. Even with those statistics, there are still different opinions regarding how close this quarterback competition really is. Some observers believe neither quarterback has fully separated himself yet, pointing out that Sanders is still holding on to the football at times. Others see a much clearer picture developing, believing Sanders has simply looked sharper throughout the opening practices. Regardless of which side fans agree with, one thing stands out from everything happening at camp: the competition is far from over. The Browns have not yet reached the physical stage of camp where the pads come on, and that changes everything. Coaches often place significant value on how quarterbacks perform once practices become more realistic, with pressure increasing and the intensity rising across the field. That makes the next phase of training camp incredibly important. The Browns' defense has reportedly looked outstanding early in camp, creating a difficult environment for every quarterback competing for the starting job. Every throw becomes more challenging, every decision happens faster, and every mistake becomes more costly. These upcoming practices could reveal much more than the first 4 sessions ever could. The coaching staff is continuing to install different portions of the offense, and there is still plenty of football left before any final decision has to be made. However, if Sanders continues building on the momentum he has already created, the conversation surrounding Cleveland's quarterback situation could become even more interesting in the days ahead. What do you think, Browns fans? Based on everything happening during training camp so far, do you believe Shedeur Sanders is beginning to separate himself in the quarterback battle? Or do you think the competition is still completely open? The confidence surrounding Shedeur Sanders is not coming only from the stat sheet. One of the biggest takeaways from training camp has been the way he has described his own development. Sanders explained that he feels like he has figured out his routine, learned much more about himself, and is genuinely happy with the process. That kind of statement matters because it reflects a quarterback who believes he is becoming more comfortable inside the Browns system, rather than simply trying to survive it. Comfort at the quarterback position often translates into quicker decisions, better timing, and more confidence in the pocket. Those are exactly the areas Cleveland needs to see continue improving as camp progresses. Interestingly, even Deshaun Watson acknowledged that progress. Watson praised Sanders for the work he has put in, saying the young quarterback has improved significantly in his fundamentals, his reads, and his execution of the offense. He also pointed out that Sanders looks much more comfortable than before, crediting the amount of work he has invested behind the scenes. That is an important detail because it shows that the competition inside the quarterback room has remained professional. Instead of becoming a distraction, both players appear focused on preparing themselves while allowing their performances on the field to speak for themselves. Still, everyone inside the organization knows that the biggest evaluations are only beginning. The Browns have now reached the point where practices become much more physical, with the pads finally coming on. According to the information discussed throughout camp, the coaching staff has divided the offensive installation into 8 different phases, and only half of them had been completed before padded practices began. That means the most demanding portion of camp is still ahead. Every install introduces new concepts, more adjustments, and more situations that quarterbacks must process quickly. The players who consistently make the correct decisions under those circumstances usually earn additional opportunities with the first-team offense. Preseason games are also expected to play a major role before any final decision is made. While practice performances create momentum, live game situations remain the ultimate test. The number of first-team repetitions each quarterback receives over the coming days could provide one of the clearest indications of where the competition is heading. If one player begins receiving noticeably more opportunities with the starters, it may reveal how the coaching staff currently views the battle. Another player who continues generating excitement is wide receiver Denzel Boston. Throughout rookie minicamp, OTAs, and now training camp, Boston has consistently been mentioned as one of the standout performers. According to the discussion in the report, he has found ways to make an impression during every stage of the off-season program. Consistency is one of the hardest things for young receivers to achieve. Yet, Boston continues drawing attention for exactly that reason. If he carries this momentum into preseason action, he could become one of the biggest surprises on the Browns roster. Perhaps even more significant than individual performances is the overall atmosphere surrounding the team. Multiple comments coming from inside the building point toward a locker room that appears fully committed to a common objective. Sanders described an environment where players appreciate demanding coaching because they believe it comes from a genuine desire to help everyone improve. He emphasized that everyone shares the same goals, reducing unnecessary distractions and allowing the team to focus on becoming better every single day. That competitive mentality extends beyond the quarterback room. New additions have reportedly brought an aggressive mindset centered on winning immediately rather than accepting a rebuilding process. The belief being expressed throughout camp is that Cleveland should not be satisfied with simply developing for the future. Instead, the expectation is to compete right now. That type of confidence can influence an entire locker room, especially when veteran leaders and newcomers are delivering the same message about accountability and raising standards. There was also one notable update regarding Cleveland's pass rush depth. Although there had been speculation about a possible reunion with Jadeveon Clowney, That possibility is now off the table after he agreed to sign with the Houston Texans. The Browns had acknowledged interest in bringing him back, but they will now have to explore other options if they decide additional depth is needed at the edge position before the regular season begins. As training camp moves deeper into its most important stretch, nearly every major storyline remains alive. Travis Bell has been added to strengthen the defensive front. The quarterback competition continues to dominate attention with every practice. Young players like Denzel Boston are creating real excitement. The overall mentality inside the building appears focused on winning rather than waiting for tomorrow. And with padded practices and preseason games still ahead, the biggest evaluations have yet to take place. The next few days could completely reshape the depth chart and perhaps even determine who leads the Browns onto the field when the regular season arrives. Every snap, every throw, and every decision will carry more weight from this point forward, making this one of the most important periods of Cleveland's entire offseason. If these trends continue, Browns fans could have plenty to talk about before the preseason even reaches its conclusion. If you enjoyed this update, make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and turn on notifications so you never miss breaking Cleveland Browns news. And when you're finished watching this video, click the video on your screen right now, because that's where you'll find the latest Browns updates first.